Hi, folks, how's it going? Okay, today I'd like to talk about a little crisis I was going through 2 months ago to do with my ideas. And the crisis is roughly speaking to do with an argument to do with creating an infinite amount of experience. So the conclusion of the argument is that I should become a Nazi, which is obviously not particularly palatable to me. The argument is that one day humans or our non human artificial offspring will create an infinite amount of experience. So the simplest way to do that would be to create a universe. There has been talk in the physics world about creating universes in a lab or in one of these CERN type high speed particle, what they call particle colliders. Those in some sort of apparatus like that. So if in the future an infinite amount of experience is created, I would have argued, I'm kind of backing out of this now, but my first thought is that that would be a bad thing to do. Actually, if I had a button in front of me, I wouldn't press it to create a new universe or an infinite amount of experience. So, my thinking previously on this was that if you create a happy life, for example, this you'd think would be of positive value. But if you're creating an infinite amount of experience, you'd probably end up creating infinite instances of this one particular life. So imagine a person having a satisfying job, raising a family, living to a ripe old age, and having a reasonably happy time of things, with obviously some misery along the way. Now that seems like a positive thing to bring that about, but imagine an infinite number. Would the n millionth instance of this life be worth creating? My thought was actually when you get to the really high numbers of repeated experiences, or even low numbers, the pain starts becoming more important than the pleasure. And obviously, there isn't really much achieved, is there, in each extra life? This just a repeat. So my thoughts are that to create a new universe or to create an infinite amount of experience, even if that experience contains more pleasant than unpleasant. If it does contain some unpleasantness, then the fact that that unpleasantness is runs into infinite amounts makes the whole thing, creating this thing of negative value, in fact infinite negative value perhaps. So my thought is that the most important thing about our lives ethically is whether we contribute to that happening or not. And the easiest way to stop this thing happening is to increase the already quite seriously large possibility that humanity will wipe itself out. And how do we help humanity wipe itself out? I think the best way to go is through right wing politics and through Nazism or nationalism, kind of getting people basically to turn on one another in one way or another. So I think it's a pretty good argument, all of that. It's kind of hard to find. I've found it hard to find fault with it because I know because I've been trying to find fault with it. But I have sort of wussed out of it, perhaps. And my best argument, the most promising argument, I think, against this is the idea that most people want to have been born, and people do have the option of killing themselves, and that's probably going to be true. Might not always be true, but it's pretty hard to create a thing that can't destroy itself. So that's a way of seeing creating a universe as a positive thing. Seeing it as a positive thing isn't all good either, because it makes me think that we should just spend all our time for trying to make humanity survive. But this is much more in line with what I've been thinking all my life, and it's much more palatable. Yeah, so I think I wrote down another idea here. Oh, yeah, this is quite fiddly, but the second idea is that if you have a policy of Nazism, you you will make it more likely that the humanity won't survive. But a byproduct of it would be, I think, making life more unpleasant for people along the way. It's obviously going to be war and horrible things, more horrible things, and hatred and people being unhappy as a side effect of this. So that that is quite significant, especially when you consider that we don't know where we are in the tree of creation. We might be a created universe ourselves, and we if we're saying to follow the Nazi policy, we're basically saying that has to happen in all universes, and therefore that could tip the value of conscious life into the negative, into the red, as it were. So that's just another argument. I was mulling this over a couple of months ago, and actually I didn't write down all the arguments, and I did think of some others, but I believe those two are the best ones. So just thinking today actually about having some sort of ethical system that isn't quite utilitarianism, so I can somehow get rid of the obligation to create a certain universe, or to do what it takes to create a certain consequence. Anyway, I don't know if if that's going anywhere, but I'm still mulling over it. It's been a little bit of a shock to the system, this argument, because it does cast doubt on either my ethical system or my political view or something. So it seems like something major should change. And so far, I think the ethical system seems slightly easier to revise than my whole attitude to the world of trying to make people live rather than die. I do find it really hard to face. Even just, I mean, becoming right wing is bad. Giving up on my left wing sort of utopian schemes is really bad as well. The worst of it is to be like this anti-natalist, anti-life person, to just want life to end, to want the world to end. It's a really bleak way of looking at the world that I find really hard to accept. Though I admit there are possible hypothetical scenarios, even if we're not in one, where you should want the world to end, and like, for example, if doing bad things in this world creates good things in 5 other worlds, I think I should be like a Nazi trying to destroy this world, trying to do evil. But It's pretty hard. That's pretty hard to face. Luckily, it's not as stark as that. I think that this, as I said, this argument might be overcome other ways. Anybody who's been watching my videos before may have seen me talk about this before. I think a year and a half ago, I basically came up with the same idea and also had a bit of a crisis with it, but then sort of wussed out of that. I'm not sure why I've got back into it and then out of it again. It's not the first time I've thought of this. I think the 18 months ago I wasn't really thinking in terms of infinity, and I think the infinite aspect of this makes the argument more powerful. Anyway, hope you find that interesting. If you've got any solutions to this problem, please let me know. And have a good day. See you all soon.